Have you ever noticed that the most meaningful things in our lives are often the quietest ones? Let's take the items we carry around on a daily basis, for example. A folded note in the back of your wallet, a keychain from a place you visited long ago, or a bracelet you've worn for years. Perhaps it's a movie ticket from a movie that made you laugh so much you nearly started crying. Or a seashell from a trip you took with your loved ones. These things contain pieces of ourselves, but they are silent. They hold memories that stay with us as we go through life, things we're too scared to talk about, and hopes we keep to ourselves. Occasionally, you can kind of sense the emotional weight of something when you pick it up. They serve as a reminder of our emotions and stand in for the invisible parts of ourselves, even though no one will ever get the chance to see them. The silent struggle works the exact same way. It's the kind of emotion that can't fully be understood. It's heavy enough to follow you everywhere, but not dramatic enough to be considered a crisis. It sits quietly behind your daily routine, like a shadow, lagging sluggishly behind your movements. Now, just like those quiet objects we carry, there are quiet emotions we carry as well. Here's a fact we don't talk about enough. 1 in 7 teenagers worldwide struggle with a mental illness. Sit with that for a moment. Because when something affects that many people, it isn't rare. And yet, silence has made it feel invisible. Even when we put on that facade of happiness, there are more of us than you might ever imagine. More deadly than the problem itself is the sense of total isolation the silent struggle creates. The small, manageable burden becomes overwhelming, like a boulder waiting to crush us when we feel completely alone. Now, I first noticed this from a friend back at school. The type of person seemed to have everything figured out. The dominant, loved, popular student athlete with straight A's. That was him. From the outside, his life looked complete. And because of that, no one seemed to check in. It wasn't a lack of attention. It was the weight of everything else. We're all holding our own problems, our own pressures, our own quiet fears. Well-being is a two-way street. And sometimes we all can be guilty of assuming somebody is fine just because we hope that they are. Because believing somebody is okay is a lot easier than adding another worry to our already full plates. In this case, it wasn't a breakdown that gave it away. It was something smaller. He went quiet during one of our group projects. He wasn't distracted. He was just absent, like his thoughts were entirely elsewhere. I'd ask him if he was okay, and he would just brush it off, saying that he was just tired. As time passed, and he got more comfortable around me, he told me that what hurt the most wasn't the way that he felt, it was how invisible he was. He explained to me that he felt disconnected from himself, like life was moving forward, but he wasn't really moving with it. Even though he was still the same guy, with the same friends, same grades, same sports, same everything, he still felt off. And the hardest part, no one understood. Not because they didn't care, but because he'd looked like the kind of person that didn't need checking in on. Listening to his story, I realized something uncomfortable. Some of the things he described felt oddly familiar. I'd remember moments where I'd go through days on autopilot, doing everything I was supposed to, yet feeling strangely disconnected from it all. Nothing was wrong, and yet nothing felt right. And that is the danger of the silent struggle. They blend in perfectly with success. They hide behind capability. And because they're subtle, we convince ourselves that sharing them isn't necessary. Our surroundings have a pretty big influence on this. According to a Stanford report, who we are depends on where we are. And that's true. The environment we live in affects our confidence, our choices, and even our supposed level of honesty. When we're in a place where everyone appears to be in good spirits, we attempt to match that. We learn to keep our true feelings to ourselves if no one discusses them. Who we think we can be is influenced by where we are. And this becomes even more evident when those around us begin to change. We see this all the time, whether it is your sibling, growing into someone you still don't fully understand, or a friend, drifting away as their priorities change, or even a version of yourself you've outgrown without realizing it. These circumstances, again, don't cause loud reactions. They create the kind of quiet confusion that makes you wonder if you should talk about it or keep it to yourself. You also keep it to yourself because it seems small. So we stay silent, and silence creates isolation. It's basic math. That isolation itself is often far more dangerous than the struggle. Small, manageable feelings begin to stack up on top of each other until they are unbearable. Not because they're dramatic, but because we're carrying them alone. Now, the question that remains is, how can we combat this? Sharing a struggle is the first step towards developing a vital connection with others. I've had numerous friendships starting off finding out that we had mutual opinions or mutual struggles. And I'm sure you did too. It allows someone else to hold the weight with you and brings about the larger picture. It's all just about finding the right person. And when I say sharing, it doesn't mean breaking down or crying for help. It just requires honesty, the kind of which opens a small window rather than a huge door. Sometimes it's even as easy as saying, something doesn't feel right and I'm trying to understand it. Or even acknowledging the fact that you're not doing well right now. That's it. Because in that moment, in that instant of voicing it, the feeling crystallizes. It becomes tangible instead of a constant battle within your mind. And sharing works best when it's with someone who listens the way your objects do. Quietly, without judgment. Just presence, just understanding. One person like that can change the way your struggle feels completely. Because talking gives your problems direction, but it doesn't make them go away completely. When we stop treating silent struggles like secrets, their impact majorly decreases. Because silence can be heavy, but sharing even a piece of our truth lightens that weight. And yes, it can even save a life. Thank you.